আচ্ছা, গত ক্লাসে আমি যেটা আলোচনা করতেছিলাম লাস্টলি যে গ্যাস্ট্রিক এডেনোকার্সিনোমা, তো কিছু পয়েন্ট একটু বাকি আছে, সেগুলো আরেকটু আলোচনা করে দিই আজকে, তারপরে আজকের টপিকে যাব। গ্যাস্ট্রিক অ্যাডেনোকার্সিনোমা কমন সাইটস অফ অরিজিন ইন দ্য স্টোমাক হলো antrum and lesser curvature. It is more common in the lesser curvature than in the greater curvature. তাহলে the common sites of origin of gastric adenocarcinoma are antrum and usually in the lesser curvature. Now there are certain predisposing factors and causative agents for gastric adenocarcinoma. These are Helicobacter pylori, number one cause, then diet containing nitrosamine compounds, benzolpyrene, smoked and salted foods, refrigerated food, lack of green leafy vegetables and citrus food, lack of food, lack of vitamin C and E and beta carotene, and if the peoples are of lower socioeconomic condition. These group of patients develop more adenocarcinoma, gastric adenocarcinoma than the others. So number one is Helicobacter pylori, then diet containing nitrosamine compounds, benzolpyrene, smoked, salted and refrigerated food, and lack of green leafy vegetables, lack of citrus food, and lack of vitamin C, vitamin E, and beta carotene, and the peoples of lower socioeconomic conditions. Morphological types, what I have mentioned in my earlier class, these are ulcerated type, exophytic or fungating, and infiltrative type. Ulcerative type, exophytic or exophytic type, and infiltrative type. Histologically, there are two types of adenocarcinoma. One is diffuse and another is intestinal. In some of the adenocarcinoma where you will find more mucin secretion, this mucin will push the nucleus of the cell towards periphery and causing signet ring appearance of the cell. You will find signet ring appearance of the cell. The signet ring is due to pushing of the nucleus towards the periphery by the mucin content of the cell. Another terminology what I have not mentioned in my last class is the linitis plastica. In your written exam, there may be a short note on linitis plastica. Linitis plastica means in some varieties of infiltrative type of gastric adenocarcinoma, there occurs severe desmoplastic reaction, that is fibrous tissue proliferation, giving the stomach a pipe-like structure, and it is called linitis plastica. So you must remember, in some varieties of infiltrative type of gastric adenocarcinoma, due to some unknown region, there occurs severe desmoplastic reactions, that is fibrous tissue proliferation. If there is severe fibrous tissue proliferation, the whole stomach becomes a pipe-like structure, and it is called linitis plastica. So in your written exam, if you have given write short note on linitis plastica, you will write this. In some varieties of infiltrative type of gastric adenocarcinoma, there occurs severe desmoplastic reaction, that is fibrous tissue proliferation, giving the stomach a pipe-like structure, which is called linitis plastica. So this is all about gastric adenocarcinoma. Now, our today's main topic is small intestine and large intestine. Small intestine, first of all. In small intestine, you will read in your pathology classes malabsorption syndrome. The different types of malabsorptions are celiac disease, tropical sprue, autoimmune enteropathy, A beta lipoproteinemia, and lactase deficiency. So the various types of malabsorptions are celiac disease, tropical sprue, autoimmune enteropathy, A beta lipoproteinemia, and lactase deficiency. So I shall discuss celiac disease. Celiac disease, it is an autoimmune disease. In this disease, the person who are sensitive to gluten protein, the person who are sensitive to gluten protein, they develop subtotal villus atrophy of ileum, jejunum, and duodenum. Subtotal villus atrophy of ileum, jejunum, and duodenum. The persons who are sensitive to gluten content of the gluten protein. Gluten protein is present in rye, barley, and wheat. Rye, barley, and wheat. So in your practical life, you will find পেশেন্ট তোমার কাছে আসবে বলবে স্যার আমি আটার রুটি খাই কিন্তু আমার হজম হয় না আমার মানে পাতলা পায়খানা হয় লুজ মোশন তখন তুমি এই সিলিয়াক ডিজিজের কথা মনে রাখবে যে তুমি তখন তাকে হুইটটা বন্ধ করে দিবে আটার রুটি খাওয়া বন্ধ করে দেখবে যদি দেখো যে তার ম্যাল অবজেকশন তার ডায়রিয়াল ডিজিজ কন্ট্রোল তখন তুমি তাকে বলবে যে সারা জীবন আর আপনি এই গমের রুটি খেতে পারবেন না যেমন তাহলে the persons who are sensitive to gluten protein is present in wheat, rye, and barley. They develop subtotal villus atrophy. It is as a result of which the digestive end products, including the electrolytes, including the minerals, are not absorbed. The patient develops loose motion, that is the diarrheal disease, and it is called celiac disease. The gluten is a protein, and in this protein, there is a factor which is known as gliadin. So the gliadin content of gluten, the person who are sensitive to gliadin content of gluten present in wheat, barley, and rye, if they are sensitive to these, they develop subtotal villus atrophy, ultimately malabsorption of digestive end products, minerals, vitamins, and electrolytes, and the patient develop diarrheal disease. So this is celiac disease. Again, there may be short note on celiac disease. Now, the inflammatory bowel disease, the most important inflammatory bowel disease. Inflammatory bowel disease are Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Both the diseases are chronic ulcero-inflammatory disease of the large gut. And also, there may be involvement of the small gland. The chronic ulcero-inflammatory disease, which are autoimmune in origin, and these are Crohn's disease. Somebody call it regional ileitis, and another is ulcerative colitis. Now, you may be asked in your examination, Bhaiva, what is the difference between Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis? অথবা তোমার রিটেনও আসতে পারে the difference between Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Crohn's disease, the lesion is superficial. If the Crohn's disease, the lesion is deep, and you will find skip lesion, an area of involvement, then a normal area, again there is an area of involvement. And there will be stricture formation in Crohn's disease. and sometimes you may find crypt abscess, and you will find non-caseating granulomas, and the lesion is deep, and you will find fissure formation. So you will find skip lesion, you will find stricture formation, you will find crypt abscess, and non-caseating granuloma formation. The lesion is deep and fissure formation. Chance of malignant transformation is rare. In Crohn's disease, chance of malignant transformation is rare. Crohn's disease, usually the site of involvement are ileum and cecum, ileum and cecum, and sometimes the whole intestine may be involved, the small gut as well as the large gut. So the main site of involvement is the ileum and cecum. Sometimes the whole small gut and large gut may be involved in Crohn's disease. In ulcerative colitis, the usual site of involvement is the rectum and in the rectum and the sigmoid colon. If the rectum is involved, it is also called proctitis. Or if the rectum and sigmoid colon both are involved, then it is called proctosigmoiditis. Proctosigmoiditis. Sometimes the involvement may be ascending, that is, the descending colon, the transverse colon, ascending colon, cecum may be involved in ulcerative colitis. So the initial site of involvement, majority of the cases, are rectum and sigmoid colon. Here the lesion is continuous. But in Crohn's disease, what I have told, it is stiff lesion, and it is continuous in ulcerative colitis. You will find the lesion is superficial. Only the mucosa and the submucosa are involved. And there is formation of pseudo polyp in ulcerative colitis. And there is no crypt abscess formation, no granuloma formation. But chance of malignant transformation is maximum. Chance of malignant transformation is maximum. So, to inflammatory bowel disease, in Crohn's disease, the lesion is deep and you will find fissure formation, skip lesion, stricture formation, crypt abscess formation, and non-caseating granuloma formation. In ulcerative colitis, the lesion is superficial, only the mucosa and submucosa are involved, and it is continuous. Pseudopolyp formation you will find, and there is chance of malignant transformation. Now, acute appendicitis. Appendicitis means inflammation of the vermiform appendix. Inflammation of the vermiform appendix is called appendicitis. And this appendicitis is always acute. There is no subacute or chronic appendicitis. There is no subacute or chronic appendicitis. It is always acute. These appendicitis are of two types. One is obstructive type, another is non-obstructive type. And for your knowledge, obstructive type of appendicitis is more common than the non-obstructive type. An obstruction of the lumen of the appendix are caused by usually by feculite. Then obstruction is also caused by ball of worms, that is roundworm. Sometimes the regional lymph nodes can compress the wall of the appendix, causing obstruction of the lumen. Sometimes if there is any growth in and around the base of the lumen, there may be obstruction of the lumen. So the main cause of obstruction of the lumen is feculite. The next one is ball of worms. The next one is the enlarged lymph nodes in and around the base, wall of the base. And finally, if there is any growth, there is malignancy in the base of the appendix. Although growth is more common in the apex, that is the tip, than in the base. Now, pathogenesis, how it occurs. The appendix, all of you know, the appendix is lined with tall columnar secretory epithelium. The function of this secretory epithelium is to secrete mucin. So if there is any obstruction of the lumen of the appendix, the secretion will never stop. The cell will secrete mucin into the lumen, but these secretory materials will not be able to pass from the appendix to the rest part of the intestine. This will accumulate within the appendix. Again, microorganisms will grow in the lumen. So, due to this growing of the microorganism and the secretion of the toxins by the microorganism, and due to accumulation of fluid in the lumen of the appendix wall is compressed. Appendix wall is swollen. So there is compression of the appendicular artery. Because all of you know the appendicular artery is just intimately related with the wall of the appendix. So there is vascularity is reduced. Vascularity is reduced due to compression of the artery. So you will find vascular necrosis as well as ischemic necrosis as well as necrosis by the toxic material secreted by the microorganism. So the inflammation will be going on in the appendix. So ultimately, if the inflammation is severe one, then there occurs necrosis. And sometimes the necrosed tip may rupture, giving it perforation of the appendix. Clear? So how will you diagnose this acute appendicitis? The confirmatory test for diagnosis of acute appendicitis is the histopathology of the appendix. And if you do appendicectomy, then if you do histopathology, you will find acute inflammatory cell infiltration in all layers of the appendix. Acute inflammatory cell, that is polymorphonuclear leukocytic infiltration in all layers, especially in the muscle coat. So this is the confirmatory diagnosis of acute appendicitis. In your practical examination, you will find slides, histopathology slides of acute appendicitis. So if you find histopathology slide of acute appendicitis, what you will write in your kata? You will write polymorphonuclear leukocytic infiltration in all layers, especially in the muscle coat. No malignancy seen. Your diagnosis will be acute appendicitis. Now, the other diseases that can occur in the appendix. These are benign tumor, there is polyp as well as adenoma, and malignant tumor, adenocarcinoma, carcinoid tumor, lymphoma, and benign among benign tumor, benign cyst, among malignant tumor, malignant cyst. So the main disease of the appendix is the acute appendicitis. The rest are adenocarcinoma of the appendix, carcinoid tumor, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and malignant cyst. Among benign tumor, polyp, adenoma, and benign cyst. Now, tumors of the colon. The tumors of the colon are, again, there may be benign tumor and there may be malignant tumor. Among benign tumor of the colon, the commonest one is the polyp. There are various types of polyp in the colon. These are inflammatory polyp and neoplastic polyp. Inflammatory polyp, neoplastic polyp. The other types of polyp are hematogenous polyp. So, inflammatory polyp, neoplastic polyp, and hematogenous polyp. So, there are a lot of polyp formation in the large gut in the colon. The polyp may be pedunculated or polyp may be sessile. The pedunculated means the polyp has long stalk. The polyp has long stalk. Again, the polyp you can divide them into villus, adenovillus, and adenomatous polyp. Villus, adenovillus, and adenomatous polyp. If in a polyp you find more than 50% of villus structure, then there is every chance of malignancy. So, if you find a villus polyp in the intestine, definitely this villus polyp will transform into malignancy. And if the villus structure is more than 50%, definitely it is a malignant polyp. Clear? Next, how will you diagnose? How will you diagnose such a case? You may diagnose such a case if the polyp is a large one. In that case, you must do surgery. But if the polyp is a small one, in this case, you may take tissue by colonoscopic biopsy, and you will do histopathology and you will be able to diagnose. Colonoscopic biopsy and followed by histopathology. Now, the malignant tumors of the colon are again adenocarcinoma, lymphoma, no, of course, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, carcinoid tumor, and malignant cyst. Like stomach, more than 90% of the malignant tumors are adenocarcinoma. More than 90% of the malignant tumors are adenocarcinoma. You must know the commonest site of origin of adenocarcinoma in the colon is the rectosigmoid junction. About 65% of the malignant tumors occur in the rectosigmoid junction, and the rest are in the rectum, in the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, and cecum. So 65% of the malignant tumors, that is the adenocarcinoma, occurs in the rectosigmoid junction. Any age, it may appear in any age. It may appear at any age, colonic adenocarcinoma. How will you diagnose such a case in the laboratory? Again, you may take colonoscopic biopsy followed by histopathology, or you may do surgery followed by histopathology. So the diagnosis is histopathological examination. Clear? So this is all about today's lecture. The next class, I shall discuss the diseases of the liver. Thank you all. Stay home.